Dr. Sitlington focused on aspects of a convention Ghana ratified with the United Nations, and he provided worldwide examples of fraud and corruption among political leaders, bankers, and other persons of influence. He reinforced the need for cultural changes, values, ethics, and mindsets in Ghana, and emphasized that those changes must first be reflected in the corridors of power. Dr. Sitlington pointed out the pervasiveness of corruption, adding that everyone involved in this practice is a part of the problem.
Sitting in the chamber here talking to politicians, so it has to start at the top level. Establishing an anti-bribery culture across the country. From a government perspective, an anti-bribery culture for all its representatives is so important.
Dr. Sitlington pointed out that the fight against corruption cannot be easily fast-tracked. He told MPs that in many instances, international cooperation is all important in the fight against corruption, particularly in cases in which suspects flee the jurisdiction. He warned that it is usually a slow process.
So there are many levels of corruption where people are used or use their position to gain profit. It not only involves people in a position of power or trust, but that power can influence people in vulnerable positions to commit acts on their behalf. Remember, there are two types of corruption, petty or grand corruption. Where corruption takes hold, it percolates to all levels of the system, from government ministers, officials involved with corrupt contracts, builders and suppliers, grand corruption, down to corrupt police officers, extracting cash for not prosecuting offenders, or even corrupt doctors and nurses to local government officials. Once corruption becomes rooted in the system, organised crime becomes involved, using their money and organisations to make money and gain power. Remember, with the offence of corruption, there are no innocent parties. The person winning the contract pays the price to the decision maker who awards the contract. The car driver with the $500 or $5,000 note in his driving licence is as guilty as the policeman taking the bribe.
But as the seminar progressed, Dr. Sitlington became the subject of the seminar, as PPPC MPs grilled the SOCU advisor on matters which were external in his remit.
We have offenders overseas who need to be brought back to Guyana to face justice. The extradition is so slow, and it's not particularly a fault of Guyana, but a fault of the other countries' legislation and how they conduct their business in courts, and the appeals process. So getting people back to Guyana is a major problem, a very slow problem as well. Mutual legal assistance for investigators is also a very slow process and should be expedited. Trying to get information from foreign countries has always been difficult. You can set up measures in order to quicken that process up, and the investigators have been told how to do that.
Heated arguments ensued, which prompted Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu to go to the rescue of Dr. Sitlington. Juvon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.